Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. We are continuing the accounts of those who have met with Sayyidina Shaykh Ahmad Tijani radiallahu anhu during his lifetime. Today we are going over Shaykh al-Islam Ibrahim Riyahi Tunisi radiallahu anhu, who was known as the Izzuddin Abdul Salam of his time due to his level of scholarship. He is called Shaykh al-Islam of the Grand School, Zaytuna School of Tunis, Tunisia. He also was the Grand Mufti of Tunisia also. And he is one of the few to hold both of those positions at the same time in Tunisia. The Shaykh al-Islam and also the Grand Mufti of the country. He is one of the students of Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, who was already well known for his scholarship. His story of how he came to meet Shaykh Ahmad Tijani initially, he was of the Tariqa Shaziliya. He was of the Tariqa Shaziliya, and his attachment to Shaykh Ahmad Tijani came through his Khalifa, Sidi Ali Harazim. When Sidi Ali Harazim, during that time when people left to go to Hajj, many times they would travel from Morocco to Tunisia to take a ship to Egypt, and then from Egypt they would cross the Sinai and go to the Hijaz. During that route, Sidi Ali Harazim went to the Hijaz by first going to Tunisia. And this is how Shaykh Ibrahim Riyahi first came into contact with Sidi Ali Harazim. He came to Tunisia, and while he was in Tunisia, he stopped by a madrasa, Sidi Ali Harazim, he stopped by a madrasa where a famous sheikh was teaching, and Shaykh Ibrahim Riyahi was in the audience as well, listening, and Sidi Ali Harazim sat next to him. And when he sat next to him, he started speaking about various things. But to rewind, before he met Sidi Haj Ali Harazim, Sidi Ibrahim Riyahi had a dream in which he received good tidings of an immense station that he would obtain. And when he met Sidi Ali Harazim, he told him about this dream, and Sidi Ali Harazim interpreted the dream for him, and told him what would become of him. And in order for him to attain the things that he saw in the dream, he would need to meet Shaykh Ahmad Tijani radiallahu anhu. But the details of this meeting, excuse me. When Sidi Ali Harazim arrived in Tunisia, he went to a masjid. And this particular masjid is where a great sheikh of knowledge used to teach knowledge. And Sidi Ibrahim Riyahi was one of the students at that time attending the lesson. And by the decree of Allah, Sidi Ali Harazim sat down for the lesson, and he sat down next to Sidi Ibrahim Riyahi. And they talked together, and Sidi Ibrahim Riyahi questioned Ali Harazim on his situation and what motivated him to stop at this particular place. And Sidi Ali Harazim informed him that he stopped there to meet him, Ibrahim Riyahi. And he told him that the sheikh who you usually would listen to today, he's not coming today. And it was Shaykh Ibrahim Riyahi's first time meeting Ali Harazim, and he was surprised what he heard from him and about his spiritual states. And he said to him, if the sheikh doesn't come today, this is surely because your position must be of great importance, because he always comes. And he invited, and it happened as he said, where the sheikh didn't, the sheikh who usually would teach that day, he didn't come. And when he saw this unveiling from Sidi Ali Harazim, he invited him to stay at his house. So Ibrahim Riyahi was a host for Ali Harazim during his stay in Tunisia. And while he was in Tunisia, Sayyid Ibrahim Riyahi witnessed many things from Sidi Ali Harazim. Two things we will go over in which he saw from Sidi Ali Harazim, in which one day Sidi Ali Harazim woke Ibrahim Riyahi out of his sleep in the middle of the night, early morning. And he told him to wake up, for this is the hour that Allah accepts dua. So Ibrahim woke up and he started writing down his request. And one of the things, and it's a list of things that Ibrahim Riyahi asked for, some of them included that he asked Allah for him to die with Iman as a Muslim. Also, he asked Allah to grant him a wife, a pious wife who would help him in his life life. He asked for children, and he also asked to be blessed with the vision of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And later in his life, all of these du'as were granted. These requests were granted because all of those were fulfilled. And he also, during this time staying with Sayyidi Ali Harazim, he witnessed something that happened with Sayyidi Ali Harazim one day when Sayyidi Ali Harazim told him that he was going to make zikr in a particular house that was known for khalwa. And he told him, don't let anyone enter this place. Sayyidi Ali Harazim told Ibrahim Riyahi this. And when Ibrahim Riyahi was guarding the place, he noticed that Ali Harazim didn't come out at the time that he said he would, to the point where he started waiting and waiting till he got word about his well-being, and he went inside the place of zikr and he saw the room empty. But he knew that Sayyid Ali Harazim was in there because no one came out from that room. And whenever he asked anyone, they said no, he went in the room and he didn't come out. So Ibrahim Riyahi is still outside of his door waiting for someone to come inside of news on what happened with Sidi Ali Harazim, or to see Ali Harazim himself return back to the place. But he knew that he never came out because he was watching the door. Then Sidi Ali Harazim came out from the place, and Ibrahim Riyahi was amazed on what was going on, because he went in the room and he saw that it was empty. And here he is waiting outside again, and Sidi Ali Harazim is coming out of this room. So he asked Sidi Ali Harazim, like, what's going on? I went in the room and I didn't see anybody, but now I see you coming out. What's going on? So Sidi Ali Harazim said, whoever knows the greatest name of Allah, and whoever knows its true reality, when he recites it a correct, certain way, there's no way that he will still be here among the creation. He will basically almost like melt away, or his ruh, or he'll be finished or extinguished in the reality, in the presence of Allah. And I've returned now from that state. This is what Sidi Ali Harazim told Ibrahim Riyahi. Also, Sidi Ibrahim Riyahi was one of the top scholars of Tunisia. He was one of the top students at that time of a great sheikh in Tunisia by the name of Sidi Salah al-Khawash. Sidi Salah al-Khawash, who was the sheikh of Tunisia at that time, and Sidi Ibrahim Riyahi was his top student. And one of the things that happened during that time, where Sidi Ali Harazim was visiting Tunisia, is that there was a drought in Tunisia at that time. And the ruler of Tunisia was actually a Turkish bey. During that time, the politics of that time, the Turks conquered parts of Egypt, was controlled by the Turkish Empire, and its influence was pushing west towards the Maghreb. So you had the Turkish Empire that was ruling Egypt, Libya, parts of Algeria, and parts of Tunisia, stretching into the Moroccan Empire. And the Tunisian part of the world at that time was going through a famine. And the ruler of the bey, or the sultan of the prince, his name was Hamouda al-Pasha, Pasha Hamouda. He wanted to send an ambassador to Morocco on his behalf to ask for food and ask for assistance, because every kingdom at that time, they will store food. They will store supplies, whether wheat, corn, grain, different things, just in case of emergencies. So the king of the sultan, the pasha of Tunisia at that time, was going to send an ambassador. And usually at that time, they will send a scholar as an ambassador, because a scholar during that time wasn't just a religious man. He was also a holder of politics, depending on the position. So the sheikh at that time was Shaykh Ibrahim Riyahi's teacher by the name. His name was Sidi Salah al-Khawash. But his teacher, Sidi Salah al-Khawash, was unable to travel due to a sickness. He was old and he was sick at the time. He was the one that would usually take this position as an ambassador, being the highest standing sheikh of Tunisia at that time. He would go to Morocco as an ambassador for the ruler, but he was sick. So Sidi Salah al-Khawash asked Sidi Ibrahim Riyahi if he could go on his behalf to Morocco. And he asked the advice of Sidi Ali Harazim, who also before that told him of what will happen, how you will be chosen as an ambassador to go to Morocco. He actually told him that before this position was offered to him. He told him, you'll be given a job to be an ambassador for the ruler here, and while you're there, do your job that you're supposed to do, but take this as an opportunity to meet Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, and don't leave his presence. Like, don't leave. Be with him as much as you can, basically, when you go to Morocco, when you go to Fez. And Fez was the ruling place at that time, where the king ruled from Morocco was at Fez. So Sidi Ali Harazim told him, you must go to Morocco as an ambassador, and you must meet the ruler there. And he told him everything that will occur. And he told him, when you reach your destination, the first thing you do is go visit Shaykh Ahmad Tijani and stay with him as long as possible and leave his side as little as possible. Sayyid Ibrahim Riyahi was surprised to hear this prediction, but it happened how he heard it from Sayyidi Ali Harazim, and how the ruler at that time told him to go to Morocco on behalf of the kingdom there, because his teacher, Sayyidi Salah al-Khawash, was sick. He was old and he was sick and he was unable to go. So when he went to Fez, when he arrived at Fez, and he first thing he did was ask around to where Sayyidi Ahmad Tijani's house was. When he reached the door, a servant opened the door. It was a female servant. She opened the door and she asked him, "Are you Sayyidi Ibrahim from Tunisia?" And he was surprised. He said, "Yeah, I am." And she told him that Shaykh Ahmad Tijani informed her to go get the door. Ibrahim Riyahi just came. He's at the door. Go answer the door. And he came in and he met with Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, and he was very hospitable to him. Some of the group of companions were there of Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, and Shaykh Ahmad Tijani offered him a cup of milk. And Shaykh Ahmad Tijani came out of actually, he was offered a cup of milk from the companions, and Shaykh Ahmad Tijani came out of his khalwa room and greeted him. And he announced to him the passing of his teacher, Sayyidi Salah. So before Sayyid Ibrahim Riyahi even said a word, the door was open for him, where Shaykh Ahmad Tijani knew he was coming. And before he said a word about anything, Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, this is their first time meeting, Shaykh Ahmad Tijani told him about how his teacher, Sayyidi Salah al-Khawash, passed away. And he told him, and I attended his janazah in Tunisia. As we know, Tunisia is a far away from Fez, but Shaykh Ahmad Tijani he told him that he attended his funeral. And said Ibrahim Riyahi, while he was with Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, one of the things that he noted and which impressed him the most was Shaykh Ahmad Tijani's manner of making salah. And he said, Sayyid Ibrahim Riyahi said that he never saw anyone's ruku and sujood who lasted as long as Shaykh Ahmad Tijani. And by watching the salat of Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, you had an idea on how the salat of the first 3 centuries prayed. When you read about these books about the Prophet ﷺ, his companions, and how birds used to sit on them in their positions of salat because of how still they were and how long they stayed in these various positions. You hear these stories of how the salat was made from the people from the salaf of the first 3 centuries. He said you saw that by how Shaykh Ahmad Tijani prayed. And he never seen anyone pray like that before. And that was one of the things that made him take the tariqah of Shaykh Ahmad Tijani. Also, Shaykh Ibrahim Riyahi, he is known even after he went back to Morocco, after he went back to Tunisia. Later on in his life, it's a history on how the growth of the Wahhabi movement started coming about, in which the ruler, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, and his supporters, they sent a letter to Morocco, to Tunisia at that time. They sent letters to different parts of the world, basically inviting them back to pure Tawheed. And this is a history in which the response from the kingdom of Tunisia was written by Sayyid Ibrahim Riyahi, because he was the Mufti of Tunisia and he was the Sheikh al-Islam. So the ruler of that of that kingdom of Tunisia during that time asked him to reply, and he replied with an answer. And also, Shaykh Ibrahim Riyahi was known to write lots of poetry, and he wrote a very famous poem about Shaykh Ahmad Tijani called the Saniya. And this poem that he wrote about Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, even the Khulafa after, the most notable, Sayyidi Arabi bin Sa'eh, he said that this poem is clear that whoever wrote this poem had a very, very great love of Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, and he promised that anyone who reads this poem, whoever is afflicted by misfortunes and hardships, whenever they will read this poem, he'll be relieved and Allah will answer his prayer. This poem is called Qasida as-Saniya, and this poem was written before it was written in the Zawiya of Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, and it used to be written on his qabr, Shaykh Ibrahim Riyahi, radiyallahu anhu. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق الناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره المقدار العظيم. I have a letter here that's written from Shaykh Ahmad Tijani to Shaykh Ibrahim Riyahi, and we will make another voice note for that will follow. It's also Shaykh Ibrahim Riyahi. He passed away at the age of 86, and he passed away on the 27th of Ramadan. May Allah be pleased with him. Ameen.